Hey, visionaries! You are now tuned in to the Starts with a Vision podcast, where everything you do in life starts with a vision. If your vision is clear or foggy, you are in the right place. It's time to go take what's yours, because there's a vision only you can see, and a dream only you can dream. And now, your host, Mr. Starts with a Vision.
What is going on, guys? It is Mr. Starts with a Vision, and I'm not about to waste your time at all. Let me say, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. I really appreciate you, and I'm really thankful for you, but I am not going to waste your time. Today's guest is Jim Brown. Jim Brown is I like to call him a sales expert, even though he's going to say he's not an expert, but I like to say he's a sales expert. He knows what he's talking about, and he's definitely going to shift your paradigm in terms of sales and making money through sales, and not the sleazy way, not the annoying way, not the salesy way, but in a really sound way. So today is Jim Brown, and I actually know him through somebody else that I was in the military with, which is pretty crazy. So listen to this podcast episode and get a whole bunch of nuggets and wisdom from it. What's going on, everybody? It is Mr. Starts with the Vision, and today we have an amazing guest, and it's very interesting how this thing even started, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But today we have a sales expert. He's built companies to a whole bunch of money, and he's taken them from $0. His name is Jim Brown. How you doing today, Jim?
Isaiah, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. And just really quick, man, really quick story. So we're talking right before this interview, and everybody listening, you know I was in the military. So he says, hey, I think that you know somebody that's near and dear to my heart. And I'm like, yeah, like who? Because I wasn't expecting this. And then he says, Sabrina Brown. And I'm like, yeah, I know her. So come to find out, somebody that I was deployed with in the Middle East is his sister. So it's a pretty small world. I just wanted to tell that story to everybody.
It totally is. Very small world. I'm glad you guys have served together. She's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're listening, Sabrina, how you doing? I hope all is well with you.
Love you, sis.
So really quick, Jim, man, how exactly what do you do as an entrepreneur? Because you know, you are in sales, you're a sales expert, you said you do sales training, sales coaching, you said those two are different, but what is your focus in terms of sales? Do you have like a company that's a sales company now and you're working with other small businesses, or, what does it all look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've done a lot of different stuff in business. Like I said, I've been very fortunate in my career. So today I spend my days focused on really three things. And you mentioned a couple of them. So sales coaching, sales training, and sales consulting. And so, what does that mean? Because they all sound very similar. Mm-hmm. So from a training perspective, I'm working with people, with companies. I'm delivering content. I'm delivering curriculum, whether it be in my classroom or yours. And then you move over to the idea of coaching. Well, coaching is just more like, look, Michael Jordan has a coach. LeBron James has a coach. Tom Brady with 5 Super Bowl rings has a coach. So I believe that the best of the best should have coaches as well. And so I'm just fine tuning and tweaking the performance that I see them doing. And then from a consulting standpoint, I'm actually working with companies to develop, go-to-market strategies. I'm doing the territory planning, comp structures, helping them hire the right sales folks. So, I do. That's my company. Right now it's me, and I've got some contractors that do some of the work to fill in for me, but It's me. I mean, right now people are buying my time.
Okay. And when you say coaching, the consulting aspect, when you're consulting, are you consulting with businesses, or is it more so solo/entrepreneurs? And your coaching, is that with entrepreneurs or solopreneurs?
Yeah, so I appreciate you asking for that distinction. So the majority of my business, I focus on tech companies that have between 2 and 10 sales reps. Now, That's my focus. That's what I go to. I believe everybody should niche down into what they're trying to go do and serve. And so that's my niche. It's my background. It's where, as you said at the top of the show, I've taken one company from $1 million to more than $10 million. I took another company from about $2.5 million to an 8-figure acquisition by Oracle. But I've also taken a company from $1 million in venture capital that I raised down to bankruptcy. So I've seen a lot in that tech space. So that's really my focus. Now, I've also got some clients that come on. They're like, hey, we just really want to work with you. Will you do one-on-one coaching with us? Mm-hmm. And from time to time, I'll take on those as well.
Okay. So this is my question, because consulting, coaching, it can get a little bit vague. And I used to kind of like struggle with this, I guess this paradigm as well. But how do you comfortably accept money from somebody, on a consultative or a coaching basis when you know that their results are not your responsibility? You can tell them, but you can't make them. So like, how do you continue to say, let's just say your price was $5,000 for, 4 weeks or something like that. So what if they paid you $5,000 and you told them exactly what to do, but they were stubborn and they didn't want to do it, but they still paid you? Like, how do you mentally get over that to still, accept that money? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this.
I mean, if I can be frank, I would just say get over it.
That's right. Look, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have knowledge in my head, and you obviously wanted it. That's why you paid me the money, and I know I delivered my value. My value was not in the results that you drive. The results are yours. You do own those. Right. I can lead a horse to water, but I cannot make it drink. But that's also why I very specifically talk about the three things that I do: training, coaching, and consulting. And those are going to be different things. So from a consulting realm, I say, look, okay, you need a hiring plan. Okay, I'm going to put together a hiring plan for you. That was the result. That was the outcome of the consulting. If you want a territory plan, I'm going to put together a territory plan for you. Now, but that's going to be completely different than in training. In training, right? For instance, the course that I'm getting ready to do, it starts, I think September 13th. I don't know, but it's my essentials course. It's a 9-week course where I'm going to meet with people for 90 minutes, 1 day a week for 9 weeks. That's it. That's what they bought. Right now, after that, they can choose to hire me to do coaching. They can choose to hire me to do some consulting, but that's what they bought. So look, I compartmentalize what you're getting from me, and I do what I say I'm going to do. What you do with it, that's on you.
Right. Absolutely. And that is a great, great, great explanation. And the reason why I asked this is because I used to struggle with that, me personally, because I didn't really 100% get it. But now talking to more people and seeing more people do it, I mean, they've told me the same thing. Like, you got to get over it or just don't offer that service.
That's right. I mean, look, I have people, you threw out an arbitrary number, but $5,000. The majority of my clients pay me somewhere in that vicinity of $5,000 a month, some a little bit more. But there are times where I literally will have no contact with one of those clients during that time period. None. But that check still clears because I made myself available to them. The fact that they chose not to use me during that time is not my issue.
Right. Okay. So how does one get into consulting on a higher level, right? Like you said, okay, some of those clients pay you $5,000 a month. How does one get to the level where they're able to say, this is what I'm charging, or this is what you're going to pay me, and also, how do you confidently do that?
Well, I think there definitely has to be some work experience and some successes that you've had, right? And so it's interesting for me to be able to tell my story. I talk about the two companies I've taken from, $1 million to 10 and 2 to 10 or an acquisition, but then I also talk about that failure that I have as well. And so the fact that I have that work experience, like, that's what allows me to confidently say, hey, you listed me as a sales expert, and I appreciate that, but I'm humble enough to know I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. But the fact is, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be an expert. In order to provide consulting, you just have to know more than the person you're sitting in front of.
Absolutely.
And that has made itself clear to me over and over and over again. I've got a very good friend of mine that I'm about to hire kind of to be my executive assistant. And he's always seen me as, who I am as a person. He's never me in action at work. And so yesterday he shadowed me for the entire day, went to meetings with me, was on my podcast with me, just listening to that. And he kind of stepped back. He's like, oh my gosh, like, I get it. I get what you do now. And it's just crazy how you have to be able to move that needle. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's some good stuff right there. And I hope everybody listening heard that, because that's gold right there. That's a whole bunch of nuggets. So from there, how did you even get started into sales? What made you take the sales route of, as a career?
Well, it was by accident, totally. Now, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, but what I didn't realize that what being an entrepreneur meant was actually being in sales, right? So I've had entrepreneurial ventures. I go back, I think about middle school when I was the guy running the NCAA pool and being a bookie. And, that was kind of one of my first entrepreneurial ventures. In high school, I built a wrestling ring in my best friend's backyard. I'm not joking. And then I charged money to all of my friends for me to teach them how to wrestle. Now, I want to be very clear. I did not know how to wrestle, but I charged them money. They paid me. And then once I trained them, then I sold tickets to their friends to come see them wrestle. It was great. It was a total racket, but it was awesome. So I feel like, Isaiah, I've been, in sales my entire life, but actually getting into it as a profession was an accident. When I left the Marine Corps, I had a couple of options. One was to go to school and be taught how to make money, or the other was just to start a business. And I actually did choose to go to school. I dropped out after the first semester because what I learned was if these professors knew how to make money, they'd be doing it, not teaching me how.
Absolutely.
Right. So I dropped out, started my first business. Very fortunate. I grew it to be about $250,000 in revenue for employees. It was pretty good. It was a great lifestyle business for me at that point in my career. And, I was out there, I was having some success. I was making some sales. And so I just didn't really think about sales, if you will. I just thought I'm just going about my day. But I started to lose some deals. And as I started to lose those contracts, I started to really wonder why. And I said, there's got to be something here. There's a discipline. There's a focus. There's something that I'm missing. And I love telling this story. I'll never forget this. This guy has become a mentor now to me. But I was talking to this guy by the name of Andy Ellsbury. I'm sitting here in Fishers, Indiana, and he had been a referral to me. And I'm trying to sell to him. And we get to the end of the conversation. He says, Jim, who taught you how to sell? And, at this point, I think I was like 25, 26. I was still very, very arrogant, very pompous. And I just kind of sat back in my chair, adjusted my shirt, big smirk on my face, and said, look, I'm self-taught, right? Very proudly. And he looked at me and said, well, it shows because you suck.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Hold up. He said, now, I'm going to buy from you because I believe you can actually do the things that you're saying you can do, but you suck at sales.
Wow.
And this was it was an eye-opening experience. And I kid you not, Isaiah, you fast forward a week and I'm sitting in front of this guy, a different guy named Matt Nettleton. And we're sitting at the Starbucks, 126th Street and Allisonville in Fishers, Indiana again. And I'm pitching him. I'm 10 minutes into my pitch and he's staring out the window. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world is going? What did I do? Did I say something? So I finally stopped and I say, Matt, I'm sorry. Like I noticed you were staring out the window. Did I say something to offend you? And he looked at me and goes, oh, I'm sorry. Were you trying to sell to me? Because if you were, you're really bad at this.
Wow.
And I was like, all right. What's going on? So long story short, I knew at that point I had to seek out this sales thing, right? And I ended up writing the biggest check that I've ever written in my entire life for me to hire a sales coach, for me to have someone help me build a system, build a process, et cetera. And I did that, and it's absolutely changed my career. So ultimately, that's how I got into the professional world of sales.
Got you. So what were the let's just say like the difference between how you were selling him and or your delivery to kind of like fast forward after you learned some stuff and you were closing deals more consistently? What were like the biggest differences between the two?
Yeah, so there's two things. I was given a sales process, and then I was taught a sales methodology. And so what do I mean by that? I didn't have a sales process. I was going out there just having conversations with people, and I had a hope, a dream, and a wish that they would buy from me. And when they were doing it at a regular clip, it didn't matter that the ones that didn't, it didn't matter, right? So here's the deal. In sales, if you don't have a process, you have to actually lean on your buyer to have a process. But we can go through this real quick. Let's talk about how buyers buy, because buyers don't know how to buy, but let's talk about how they buy. What's the last department store that you went into, Isaiah?
Shoot, man.
Like actual brick and mortar department store.
Probably Sears a week or so ago.
All right, so you go into Sears. You're probably going for something specific, right? What were you going for?
I was looking for a vacuum.
So you're looking for a vacuum. Now, I don't know. You may have told them, but so you walk into Sears, you have that friendly greeter, and they say, "Hey, thanks for shopping at Sears. How can I help you today?" And what'd you say?
I said, yeah, I'm just looking for a vacuum. I knew where they were, so I didn't really need them per se.
So yeah, exactly. So did you actually tell them you were looking for a vacuum, or did you just say, no, thanks, I'm just looking?
Yeah, I just said, no, I know where I'm going.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. But you lied to them, right? You told them that you didn't need their help. You told them you weren't there for them. You were just looking, right? Mm-hmm. That's what buyers do. The first thing they do is they lie to us as salespeople. Now, you go in, you look around, you look at the different vacuums, and a lot of people, I don't know, this is you, they're basically stealing at this point. They're stealing information. They're gathering all the research, looking at the products, feeling it, touching it, et cetera. But then they don't buy. They steal that information and they leave, right? Mm-hmm. And when they leave, now they go home and now they say, you know what, I'm probably going to come back. And that's what you tell the clerk on the way out. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get it. I just want to look at some other things. And then you go on Amazon, right? And you buy it cheaper, right?
Oh, okay.
So now you've lied again. So first you lie, then you steal, then you lie again. And now you hide, right? And hiding means you don't ever come back. They can't find you. So what does that sound like in the business world, right? You call on somebody, they say, no, thanks, not interested. We got a guy, really happy with our current results. We're just looking. That's what it sounds like in B2B. So what does stealing sound like? You're in the digital marketing space yourself. Have you ever had someone that just keeps asking you questions and you think, man, I got this. This one's going to sell. I've got this one. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
And you're providing free consulting, and nothing ever happens. Right? They're stealing from you. Right. Their whole intent is to steal from you. Right. They want that free consulting. They want the information that's in your head. Then they lie to you. And how does this sound? Well, now they're going to say to you, Isaiah, you're our guy. You're the one that we want. We're definitely going to hire you. I just got to go to the board. I just got to get approval. Q3 next year, you're in. Can you give me a case study? Do you have any demos? Can you do a client reference? If you give me those, you're in. Right? You heard that before? Mm-hmm. All the time, right? Mm-hmm. And then they hide. And what is hiding? Hiding now, you get unlimited access to voicemail. You send emails that never get returned, right?
Right.
But that's the buyer's process. And if you don't have your own process, you have to follow theirs. It's just the way it works.
Wow.
So that was the thing that really helped me focus in on what I was doing. I was given a process in order to fall back on. Because look, at this point, I was like, okay, if I do this, then this happens, then this happens. At least now I can look back and say, wait a minute, I know where I am in my sales process. I haven't done X, Y, and Z, so there's no way I should send them a proposal. There's no way I should try to close because that's not where I am in the process. Without that, again, you just kind of have to go with that. The other side of that is the sales methodology. And again, you may think those are very similar, but a process is just a logical sequence of events that you're going to follow to get something accomplished. Mm-hmm. The methodology is the why and the reason and the attitudes you have to do those things in the process. And that's what I really learned. And for me, it was being skeptical. So I don't believe any deal's ever going to close. Right. And by doing that, it allows me to use questions in a very specific manner to get my clients to go where I want them to go.
Okay. That's very interesting. What type of questions? Can you elaborate on that in terms of like the questions getting them to go where you want to go to pretty much get the end result that you want to get?
Right. So again, I'm coming from the skeptical or the negative standpoint of this. So again, I sell sales training. So if I were to be talking to you right now, again, we got to assume that we're already down the process a little bit. But I would say to you, hey, I talk with a lot of CEOs that are similar to you, and what they tell me is they're great when they get in front of prospects, but they're just not getting in front of enough. So their prospecting plan is kind of lackluster. Now, my guess is that you've never experienced a problem like that.
No.
Right. Yeah. I didn't think that you did. Right. Mm-hmm. Because what happens if you just straight up tell me no? If I ask you a point blank question, right? Like, hey, do you need lead generation services? And you tell me no. Conversation over. There's like nothing else. Like, what else do I do? But if I say, hey, I do this, but I don't think this is a problem with you, and you say no, I'd be like, hey, no problem. I didn't think it was. That's why I set the question up that way. So then I go on to the next one. Hey, totally get it. Isaiah, some of the other people that I've talked to have told me that, again, they're really good when they get in front of somebody, but these deals, they keep slipping month to month and they don't know why. Now, I don't know that you've ever had a deal slip to month.
Yes. I mean, it has.
What do you mean? Right. And as soon as you do that, like now it's all on you. I'm not selling you. I'm asking you questions. I'm assuming some things that I might know about you based on previous experiences that I've had with people that are like you, right? So I'm basically giving you a presentation. You don't even see it. Right. I'm telling you, I know you. I know the type of business that you do. I sell to similar people, and here's some of their problems. But if you have any of those, then let's talk. But if you don't, that's okay.
Wow, that's amazing right there. So it's really just like the whole framing of the questions and getting them to kind of pull them where you want them to go. Like asking the question that you know where to go to next.
That's right. The whole time I'm in control, but I make it look like they're in control. Right. Because it's not my problem. I'm not the one with the issue. They're the one with the issue. So why do I want to wear it? Why do I want to solve a problem that I may not actually be able to solve, but two, like, it's not my problem. It's your problem.
That reminds me of this book. I'm pretty sure you've read it. Pitch Anything?
Oh, for sure. It's a great book.
Yeah. That reminds me because he talks about framing so much in that book. So that's like,
I think is that the book where there's a guy who like walks up and takes the bite of someone else's apple?
Yeah.
So good. I want to do that one day. I will do that one day. It's so good.
Yeah, that's some really good stuff right there. So like in these processes, what do you think is the most important like step in the process of, let's just say, the questioning, right? Like, what can somebody do and take away, like, from here right now that could go make them money in terms of, like, you know, that whole sales methodology or of the closing?
Well, you asked a lot of different questions there. But I would say, like, the biggest thing that people have do a terrible job at is listening. You actually need to listen, right? So it doesn't matter what you sell, right? Again, we've talked about you. You do digital marketing, digital advertising, and a lot of online marketing, right? I sell sales training, right? I could sell sales training to anyone. You can sell digital marketing to everyone. That's not the point. That's not what we need to do. What I want to do is I want to go in and I want to ask questions to determine whether or not people have problems that I'm interested in solving. And if I do that, and if I truly have empathy for the buyer, I want to understand what their issue is. I want to understand why they're talking about this. So I want to go one level deep, 2 levels deep, et cetera. So my guess is people come to you, Isaiah, and said, hey, I need a new website, right? They come and say, hey, I want an SEO strategy. Hey, I want a PPC campaign. Hey, I want a Facebook, right? That's great. To me, that's just a pain indicator. There's no real pain there. And if you try to sell just to what it is they tell you they have a problem with, you're going to get stuck in that commodity sales space. You're not going to be able to sell your product for what you would like to sell it for. You got to understand why. Why do they want a new website? You want to go deeper. But whatever they tell you next, so you tell me you need a website. I tell you, well, why? Why do you need a new website? Tell me more about that. Let them elaborate. Go a little further. But I want to get all the way down to, I want to understand, okay, if you don't have a new website, what's going to happen to your business? Right. If you don't solve this problem that you told me you had, what happens to your business? Okay, now let's look at the positive side of this. Let's fast forward 12 months and whatever it is that you do with me or whoever else, it's wildly successful. What would that look like? What would that mean to you, to your business, right? I want to get both personal emotion and business emotion, because when I get that, otherwise I'm just one of many that they're probably going to go get bids and quotes on. And, a $10,000 website and a $100,000 website, what's the difference? To me, it's not the amount of work you put in. It's the emotion tied to the pain the person has. So to me, that's probably the most important thing.
So what I'm hearing is it's not. Do you feel like it's never about the money or the amount?
Ever. No one ever says no because of price. Ever.
So it's really more so of the problem and their emotion to that problem, and if it's strong enough.
100%. But most people are not good enough at sales to care enough to go down that path.
Right. And that ties into what you're saying, go deeper to find out the reasoning behind it, because somebody can come to me and say, hey, I need a website, but it's more so about what do they think the website is needed for, because they may not need a website. They just may need a sales process or something like that. Right.
That's right.
Got it.
That's right.
So let me ask you this then. Follow up. Right? They say the fortune is in the follow up and stuff like that. But what is like the proper way to follow up? Because I think that a lot of people think that the way to follow up is just keep calling somebody and say, hey, do you want to buy this product? Hey, do you want to buy my service? Hey, do you want to buy my service every couple weeks? What is a good way to follow up?
Add value. And I know that's just a very generic response, but let me tell you how to do that.
Okay.
If you have not actually run a discovery session, if you've not actually asked the questions to understand that pain, you're never going to go anywhere. And the only thing you're going to be able to do is send an email. Hey, just following up. Hey, just checking in. Phone call, voicemail, just call me. Right. This is when your buyer is in hide mode. They're in the fourth step of their process. They're in hide mode because you're providing zero value to them. But if I run my sales process and I get to ask the questions that I want to ask, I now know the real reasons why you need that new website. And so when my follow-up comes up now, it's like, hey, Isaiah, I'm reaching out again because you told me that you had a deadline of October to be able to get to this next level of sales and that your new website was a core component of you getting there. Now, I don't know if you have already found a solution or someone to help get you there, but I wanted to see where you stood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's value.
Right.
You said, hey, I listened to you. I know you have some really big initiatives coming up. I would love to be that person to help you fit that if it makes sense.
Right. So more so showing them that you not only care, you've been listening, and you want to help them solve this problem because they said that that's their priority. So you're really using their words, not against them, but for the betterment of this project.
100%. And you're right. I'm glad you made the distinction. I'm not using their words against them, but you better believe I'm using their words, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. And I've sold so many different types of things, but I know a lot of information in my head. But I play the role of a dummy in the sales process on purpose, right? So if I come in and I know that, let's say you're on page 2 for all the keywords that you have, and I know that based on the search volume that if you got to page 1, we're talking about $10,000 a month in additional revenue you could create. I know I can do the research. I know those things going in. But if I'm I don't know if I can cuss in your show, but if I'm the asshole that comes in and I just start to tell you all that, that's the typical salesperson that everyone shuts off to. Right. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is I want to use that knowledge that I know. I know that if I get you to page 1 of your search results on SEO, and again, I'm just making this relevant to you, but if I get you to page 1, I know it's worth $10,000 a month extra to you. I'm going to start asking you questions to get you to reveal to yourself that the value is $10,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you say that, you now own it.
Right.
And absolutely. You can't take it away.
Absolutely. And
you can't take it away.
Then they wrap their head around paying that.
Absolutely right. So now you're even doing the next step of negotiation. That's called anchoring. You've now anchored in their head $10,000 a month. Holy cow, that's the value. So now what are you going to pay for that? Right? I'll give you a great example, Isaiah. So I told you average client is going to pay me about $5,000 a month. So therefore, over a year, it's $60,000. So that's my baseline. Mm-hmm. I know that that's my baseline going in. I was dealing with a prospect about a month ago. I take them through the entire discovery call. I had so much pain. They were bleeding all over the place. And they revealed to me, their words through my questions, that they had a $1.1 million gap in sales from where they are today to where they want to be. And they've had this problem for 3 years. Okay. So we're talking about a $1.1 million pain per year that they've had for 3 years. Right. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh my gosh, first of all, we're not going to fix this overnight, but all right. I just simply looked at him and I said, now, guys, you got to help me understand, $1.1 million. If you were to be able to solve this $1.1 million shortfall you have in sales, what would you pay for that? What would it be worth to you?
Right.
And they kind of hemmed and hawed and they said, gosh, if we could really do this, it's been going on for 3 years, $1.1 million. They said, Jim, we'd pay, I don't know, $150,000, $200,000 to solve a problem like that.
Wow.
What did I do with my $60,000 number?
I'm pretty sure you had no problem increasing that.
Oh, absolutely. On the mark. I was like, well, here's the thing, guys. I got 2 things to say to that. Number one is here's my concern, right? Again, I'm always skeptical. So here's my concern. My concern is this has been going on for 3 years. I don't know that you really are actually committed to fixing it. I don't know that you're really committed to making a change in your processes to actually fix this deal. Mm-hmm. What's that do? All of a sudden, they're like, well, now, wait, let me tell you how committed I am to fixing this, right?
Right. Let me write you this check right now.
let me rationalize it. Let me go. And I said, now, here's the other thing. This is the good news. My services, it's not $150,000. Fortunately, it's only going to cost you $95,000.
Absolutely.
They've anchored in their head, I would pay $150,000 to $200,000 for this, and they've told me now that they're committed to doing it. And I'm like, but oh, by the way, like I'm 33% less than what you thought.
Right.
When in reality, I raised my price by 50%.
Right. That's a pretty nice bonus, right?
For sure.
You're not getting that at any job.
The exact same thing. That's right. I was going to sell them the exact same thing for less.
And I think that's a good indicator, or that just shows that value is all relative.
100%. Dude, I tell you, because here's the thing. I'm sorry, you're going to get me on my passionate point. So I'll talk about money, right?
Talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Most of us did not grow up with money, right? I grew up dirt poor. I mean, my sister, I'll tell you, we grew up dirt poor, right? Southern Indiana, just backwards mentality mindset. We didn't have anything. I was told my whole life, you will be nothing. The Brown family is nothing. You're going to live in a trailer. Like, this is the stuff that I was told. So you better believe we did not talk about money because it was rude to talk about money, right? So my perspective of money is that, like, any amount of it is a lot. I remember the first time I sold a $5,000 deal. I thought I was the richest man on the planet, right?
Right.
My next company, the first deal that I sold was a $5,000 deal. The biggest deal I sold was a $20,000 deal. My head is being blown right now. I'm thinking this is so much money. The next company I go to, the first deal I sell ends up being $20,000 per month. And my mind is blown, right? And now I've sold 7-figure deals now. Biggest deal I've ever sold was a $1.2 million deal with Sears. You talked about going to Sears department store. It's funny. My biggest deal ever is with Sears. I sold a $1.2 million SEO deal to Sears.
Nice.
Right? Now, in my opinion, is $1.2 million a lot of money? You're damn right it is. I could retire on $1.2 million, right?
Right.
But $1.2 million to Sears was a rounding error. I might as well not even existed. So the perception of money and the perception of value is absolutely always in the person who's going to write the check.
Yep.
Never in the person that's going to receive the check. You cannot sell with your wallet. Don't believe that buyers are buying with your wallet.
Right. Dang. Yep. Absolutely. Because how are you going to grow if that's the case?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. It's all relative.
Yeah. Because I remember when, I started like my services, and I couldn't wrap my head around at first somebody paying me $3,000 a month. And then the first client, she said, "That's it?" I said, well, shit,
right.
I wish I would have told you 7.
That's right.
But that's exactly to your point, is value literally it's all about how much it's worth to that person, and they're not paying, with your pocket, because if you're always thinking about what they're paying, from your pocket, then you're never going to make more money and have bigger pockets.
That's right. Amen, brother.
So
and I will tell you, like, it's crazy. Once you start to level up, it's so crazy, man. Again, I look back, I know how blessed I am. I know how fortunate I am. I tried my hardest to educate myself and surround myself with good people, put myself in the right situations. But the game starts to change. Like the concept of the rich get richer, right? It's true. It's 100% true. But it's because the game changes. Once you start acquiring money, once you start acquiring wealth, once you start like the game just changes, and all of a sudden different opportunities start to come around for you. Your accountant will start talking to you about different ways to do certain things. All of a sudden you're leveraging your capital to acquire assets that are already kicking off more money than what you acquired it for. The game changes, and I'm not joking. It completely changes, and that's the mentality and the mindset that I got to get people to start thinking about. Because if you just live in this scarcity mindset that, man, if he gets his, I can't get mine. It's so bad for everybody. There's so much money out there just floating around waiting to be taken, and you got to get into that mentality.
Yes, absolutely. So this is a question. I think this is very interesting, actually. We are in a digital marketing age. Got it, cool. A lot of people are, saying cold calling is dead, this, that, and the third. You can do stuff, on DMs. So what do you feel when, in terms of like closing a deal through DM or, direct message, instant messenger, whatever it may be, any messaging platform, do you feel like that's a viable way to close a deal?
I think, you're asking the wrong question, right? To me, it is, what does the buyer want?
Got you.
It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's, what does the buyer want? What does the buyer want to buy? How do they want to buy it? When do they want to buy it? But don't get me wrong. I still have my process, right? But I want to understand that. So if a buyer wants to buy from DM, let them buy by DM. As long as the check clears, I don't care how you buy from me.
Right. I like that. Do you cold call or at this stage in your career?
I do. I cold call every single day.
Okay.
So, and it's crazy, and this may sound weird. I make 6 cold calls every single day. It's all I need, right? So I've already laid out my path. I know my cold call ratio to meeting ratio, my meeting ratio to gap analysis ratio, my gap analysis to close. Like, I know those metrics. And so I know if I make my 6 cold calls a day, I'm going to close what I need to close to grow my business. So over the course of the week, that means I'm making 30 cold calls. I know I just did this last week, 30 cold calls, and I only call on CEOs. Everybody says cold calls are dead and you can't get to Last week, I called 30 CEOs here in the Indianapolis area. I made contact. I'll ask you, how many do you think I actually talked to? I actually made contact with.
Actually made contact, I would say, honestly, about 10 to 12.
Wow, you're right there. You're literally right there. So I made contact with 11. Okay. So I talked to 11 CEOs last week based on my cold call outreach.
That's very good.
It's very good connection rate. And most people say, well, there's no way. How did you get a hold of a CEO? And like literally, I mean, I literally use the phone tree on their dialer, or I talk to their assistant and I get put in. Right? So it's all about how you do it. But so from that, I set 2 meetings, right? Immediately on the call. I set 2 more meetings from follow-up via email. But here's the crazy thing. I had 7 other CEOs return my voicemail.
Wow.
That's crazy. Everybody says voicemail's dead. No one listens to them anymore. They're not going to. 7 additional CEOs return my voicemail. That was last week. Those were my numbers from last week. So yeah, absolutely, I'm cold calling.
Absolutely, because if you do that every week, then you're in the game.
That's it. To me, it's all about behavior, man. If I just do the behaviors, I'm going to get what I need at the end of the day. I know the math at this point.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, man, where can people find you at? Where can people reach you at?
Yeah, a couple different ways. I mean, if you want to talk more about the stuff that we talked about today, actually for your audience, man, I put together a workbook, and I want to emphasize the word work. You're going to have to put some work on this, but it's a free download. You can go to salestuners.com/roadmap. Whatever your goal is, whether you want to make $1 million or you're going to make $100,000, I'm going to walk you through the step by step. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in that big number, because here's the problem. Isaiah, everybody looks at that big number. They're like, okay, I want to make $100,000. I want to make $1 million. But they have no idea what the individual steps they have to do today are to get there. So this workbook is going to break it down so you know the daily, weekly, and monthly activities that you have to do if you truly want to do it, that you can do to get to that number. So again, that's salestuners.com/roadmap. And then if you just want to, chat with me more on a personal basis, hit me up on Twitter. I'm Jim_Brown. We can talk about sports. We can talk about beer. We can talk about the 10 police car high-speed chase that I was literally in the middle of it yesterday here in Fishers, Indiana. It was absolutely crazy. Really? But if you follow me today, you'll see that on there.
That's pretty interesting. That's very interesting, actually. So
I want to be clear. I was not involved in it. It wasn't me they were chasing.
Well, that's good to know. So you said sales tuners with the S, right?
Yep, plural.
Okay, salestuners.com/roadmap. So everybody listening, Jim gave so much, not just value, but he gave a lot of nuggets, a lot of gems, and things that you can implement today. And that's what we're all about on this podcast. We're not about motivating you and making you feel good. We're about real execution. So I appreciate you, Jim, for your time and your expertise. And I will say, you said earlier, I'm not an expert, but let me just tell you, you are. You don't have to know everything to be an expert. You just have to know a lot, and you know a lot. So I appreciate your time and sharing everything that you have today on the podcast.
Well, likewise, man. I'm really glad you had me. It was a lot of fun, and I hope your audience does take away a few things.
Definitely, 100%. So with that being said, that's going to be today's show, guys. Go download the workbook and do the work and make some money. So we're going to talk to you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to the Starts with a Vision podcast. Come get your vision clear at www.startswithavision.com. See you there.